Hello, everybody. Welcome to the booth. Brian David Marshall, joined by Pro Tour Hall of Famer Randy Buehler. We're about to watch two players in their quarterfinal here at the Pro Tour, one playing in his fourth, one playing in his first. Let's send it down to the floor. The players are ready to go, and we'll see who advances to the semifinals of Pro Tour Fate Reforged. Hello and welcome to more semifinal action here from Pro Tour Fate Reforged in Washington, D.C. I'm Brian David Marshall. I'm joined by Pro Tour Hall of Famer Randy Buehler, and we are about to watch Spain's Antonio Del Moral Leon versus Hong Kong's Shi Tian here. Randy Buehler, tell us a little bit about what each of these players are playing.
Yeah, Shi Tian is on the burn deck. He just wants to point his direct damage spells at Antoni's face and try to burn him down before Antoni can assemble the Splinter Twin combo. Antoni will be trying to get a creature that can untap things into play, put the enchantment Splinter Twin on it, and then he wins the game. So it's pretty interesting. I can see these players opening hands here, and Shi Tian has got a great draw. He's got a couple of lands, and he's got a Swift Spear for the first turn, 4 burn spells, kind of exactly where you want to be. Antoni's hand is good, but not as good. He's got the Deceiver Exarch, which is the really resilient threat, but what he needs to hit here is land and Splinter Twin. He's only got 2 lands in his opener and does not have a Splinter Twin itself.
Of course, Del Moral Leon is on the play as the 2nd seed. He'll be on the play as long as he's not playing top seed, Eric Froelich, who is eliminated from the tournament. So he is on the play for as long as he remains here. There you get a look at Shi Tian's career numbers, by the way.
Super impressive.
Yeah.
3 top 8s in the last 13 months. Really the last 53 weeks, right? Top 8'd this tournament last year. Top 8 at Hawaii, and now here he is with his 4th top 8 of his career. Super impressive.
Yeah. Island Serum Visions was the play for Leon here, and then Shi Tian opens up with a Scalding Tarn, gets the mountain, and you believe it's going to be a Swift Spear?
That's what it looks like to me.
Unless he drew a Goblin Guide.
Exactly. Yeah.
And there you see red, 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 red. 4 stop signs in a row for Del Moral Leon.
Let's see if Serum Visions help Del Moral Leon's hand. I think the lightning, either the Lightning Bolt or the Flame Slash is new. But yeah, he's only got 2 land. Doesn't have any red mana yet. Doesn't have a Splinter Twin yet.
Another Serum Visions for Del Moral Leon.
Found a Steam Vents, so that's good.
And plays the Steam Vents up and Flame Slashes away the Monastery Swift Spear. So can Shi Tian just burn him out from here?
He got in one with creatures. It's time to change gears. Sure. I mean, yeah, the answer is seriously yes. You don't have to deal creatures. They are efficient sources of damage when you play them on the first turn or 2.
But he did draw a Goblin Guide.
Goblin Guide off the top. That's good.
Oh, but he reveals a Splinter Twin on top.
Jeez. All right. Antonio is basically 1 land away from assembling his combo. He's got the Deceiver Exarch in hand. That's the hard-to-kill one. And he's got a backup copy if necessary. If the first one soaks up 2 burn spells, well, he's got another. What he's going to need, though, is a 4th land, and in particular, it'll have to tap for red mana.
So Shi Tian's Goblin Guide has to do some hard work for him here.
Nah.
So, of course, every time the Goblin Guide attacks, your opponent reveals the top card of their library. If it's a land, they get to put it in their hand. There you see the card. One of the, I don't know, handful of best one drops ever printed.
For sure.
4. 6.
And then a lava spike from Shi Tian. There's a tectonic edge from Antonio. Of course, at the last Modern Pro Tour, it was Shi Tian playing the blue-red deck. He was playing Blue Moon.
Yeah, he seemed really sad to leave his steam vents at home. He said steam vents can't beat Overgrown Tomb.
All right, there's a lightning bolt on top. That's not the land Antonio's looking for.
All right, how is Lee going to play this? I mean, Bolt Shard Volley can kill a Deceiver Exarch in a pinch. Doesn't have the 3rd mana to do it any more efficiently than that. So yeah, he just says go. He's not going to do anything during his own end step. Antonio is, of course, summoning the Deceiver Exarch during Shi Tian's end of turn phase.
He's thinking about whether he wants to tap down one of those lands. He knows he's not top decking the land he needs.
True.
Decides instead to untap the steam vents. He's like, I don't want to do anything to the Goblin Guide. It might get me a land.
Bring me land. Yeah, and you can see Shi Tian pointing at the Goblin Guide. Kind of knows. I mean, if he's untapping his own steam vents, it must be because he wants to bolt Goblin Guide, right? Otherwise, he would tap one of the lands. Oh, this is combat.
This is
not
combat.
End step. Got it.
Okay,
that makes sense. It does make it a lot easier for the Deceiver Exarch to die. It'll only take 1 burn spell to finish it off now. But I think Antonio's okay with that because he stops this 2 damage. He soaks up a burn spell, and then he still has the 2nd Deceiver Exarch. I like this line. Shi Tian decides not to kill it. It's a pretty good read, actually. I mean, he must know that Antonio has a backup or wouldn't do this or thinks he can burn him down. I mean, with 12 life left for Antonio, Shi Tian looks at his hand and says, 3, 6, 9, 12. I can do that. Why would if I tap my mana to kill Deceiver Exarch, then I'm not tapping my mana to kill you.
All right, drop you to 9. Lightning Helix. Shi Tian's life total is irrelevant, or largely irrelevant here.
True. Really wants land at this point. He's got all the fire he needs. He just has to be able to deploy it all.
Did he just draw another lightning bolt?
Rift Bolt.
Ah, there you go. You see the Rift Bolt on the left. You get a look at his hand.
Yeah, he can get him to 1.
Decides not to attack.
Does not want to give him a draw at that land. Now, Antonio should tap a land here, I think. He summons that other Deceiver Exarch. He's not in any danger of dying. Shi Tian can't deal 9 damage with 2 mana. What he can do with 2 mana is kill a Deceiver Exarch as a response to a Splinter Twin.
And I think that's what we're going to see here.
Yeah, Del Moral Leon has the Splinter Twin, needs the land.
Oh, he's going to Vendilion click.
Interesting.
Says, I want to see what you're working with.
Huh.
Or does he want to Vendilion click himself?
To get 2 draws at the mountain. Hey, has he chosen a target?
All right, he is doing a Shi Tian. There you see. He looks at the hand. Sees a book of matches.
Now, can he make it so that Deceiver XR can't be killed? If he pushes either the Lightning Bolt or the Shard Volley, and obviously he would choose the Lightning Bolt, then the only way Shi Tian can kill Deceiver XR is if he top decks a 1-mana burn spell here. This only comes up if Antonio top decks a red source. But hey, that's what we're playing for. And he did, didn't he? That sure looked like a red source to me. Splinter Twin? What do you got? Can you kill this Deceiver XR, Shi Tian? Drew Eidolon of the Great Revel. What's he thinking about? All right, Antonio has assembled the combo, and that is good enough. Deceiver XR, make a tap it, make a copy, untap it. I'm sure most of you out there by now have seen the Splinter Twin combo in action. Shi Tian doesn't make him go through the motions, just extends the hand.
Okay, we're going to take a look at how these guys are sideboarding after a couple of quick messages.
Burn your fate into history. Fate Reforged is now available on Magic Online. Dive into the new set by downloading Magic Online at www.mtgo.com. Standard is the name of the game at Fate Reforged Game Day. Join the battle on February 14th and 15th at your local game store. Visit wizards.com/magicgameday for more information.
All right, welcome back. I had a chance, actually, before coming into the booth to talk to these guys about what their sideboard plans were. And so we're going to hear from Shi Tian in his own words about how he plans to handle games 2 and 3 here.
All right, Shi Tian, you've done this before. You know, I've got your sideboard up back here. What are you bringing in for game 2 and game 3, and what's coming out to make room for it?
I'm definitely bringing in the Destructive Referee, and probably I will bring in Molten Ring on the play so that he cannot get early to a combo. And I probably bringing out multiple color spell like Boros Charm or Highlighting Helix as he got Blood Moon in his sideboard. I don't want to risk he got Blood Moon and I got all the blank cards.
Okay, and then what does your plan change at all, whether you're on the play or on the draw?
On the play, I will definitely bring in Molten Ring. But on the draw, Molten Ring may be too slow, so I may be only bringing in Skullcrest so that I got more monocolor spell and instant speed.
Okay, all right. Shi Tian, good luck the rest of the match. All right, Antonio, as we head into games 2 and 3, what cards from your sideboard are we going to be bringing in, and what cards are we going to take out to make room for them?
Okay. Sí, le digo eso, que cuando... Bueno, si gano yo...
If you won,
las cartas que me meto son Dispel,
he will include Dispel,
Negate, Skite.
Which one? Spell Skype, yeah.
Dispel, Flameslayer, Negate, Spell Skype, Pyroclast, and Anger of the Gods.
And Angel of the Gods.
And the Cryptic Command.
And remove the Cryptic Command.
4 remands.
4 remands.
And Electrolytes.
And Electrolytes.
Okay, thank you, Antonio. Good luck the rest of the match.
Okay, thank you.
There you have it. What do you think of their sideboard plans, Randy?
Yeah, and the matchup's pretty straightforward. I'm sure these guys tested this matchup and getting ready. I'm sure these guys ran into this matchup along the way. I mean, it's mostly a race. I mean, I do think that Molten Rain is potentially very good for Shi Tian when he's on the play. That totally makes sense to me. And like you said, I think that on the draw it's probably too slow.
And what do you expect the Blood Moons here? No, that doesn't seem.
I don't think I would bring in Blood Moons here.
For some reason, Shi Tian seemed to think that was a possibility.
I don't think he thought it was very likely. There's just he doesn't need the life gain from Lightning Helix, so why risk it?
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the combo that is in Antonio's deck. There's the Deceiver XR card we saw. It can tap your opponent's stuff, can untap your stuff. Talk a little bit about this card, Randy.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing about this card is the lower right-hand corner, 4 toughness. Shi Tian cannot get this card off the board for 1 card. There's no way to trade for it. So it is a key card to the combo. Pestermite can double as a Deceiver Exarch, but Pestermite's only 2/1. So Deceiver Exarch's really the key card that Antonio wants to draw, and we saw that's what happened in this last game. Shi Tian couldn't kill it as a response to the Splinter Twin coming down. Really a dominant combo. That combo was good in Standard when the cards first came out, and it's been good in Modern ever since Modern existed as a format.
Well, let's take a look at the card that is enchanting the Deceiver Exarch. Of course, the Splinter Twin, a card that sort of conjures up the Kiki Jiki.
Absolutely. Some of these decks will play Kiki Jiki as the backup plan. Can have essentially the same effect, but 5 mana, 2/2. Splinter Twin's really the card that you want here. You see the very first Modern Pro Tour, Samuel Estradi won with this combo, and it's been kind of hanging out. I know that R&D has said a number of times with Modern that, you know, turn 4 kill is kind of where they want to keep the format. They don't want you to be able to consistently kill your opponent before the first turn. And so, yeah, Splinter Twin has survived the entire lifetime of Modern, hasn't really been hit by any bannings because it can't kill until, quote-unquote, only the 4th turn.
Card was
pretty good at killing then, though.
Card was called Hurling Image in design. Is that because your opponent hurls every time you cast it? I'm not quite sure I understand that. You know, it's funny. I talked to a number of Birthing Pod players this weekend. You know, and you know, I was trying to gauge how upset they were, and they're like, I knew I was on borrowed time.
Yeah.
You know, I was grateful for every tournament we had together.
Right.
And I feel like, I wonder if the Splinter Twin players feel like that way sometimes. They're like, oh, yeah, that Birthing Pod, you should, that terrible Birthing Pod card.
No, I think those guys are rooting for Amulet to do well, right? Kind of distract the banned and restricted list committee from.
Yes, the whopping 1% of the field that played Amulet.
But then 2 of them playing for top 8 in the last round, right? Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, Splinter Twin, it's sort of where the speed of Modern is. It's always been there. I mean, it's been one of the top 5 archetypes, basically every Pro Tour, every Premier event there's been. It's been in the top 5. But I mean, has there been any point where you're like, this is definitely the best deck? I don't know, maybe. I mean, Patrick Dickman had a nice run in Grand Prix 18 months ago, but...
And Obzon is a deck that feels like it's can prey on that deck, right?
Yeah,
like
I mean, the
more
Obzon
controlling Obzon lists.
We talk about Twin having been omnipresent in the format, but Obzon was really the deck, by far the most played deck, at 28% of the field this weekend. Were
you surprised by the large turnout for Shi Tian's deck archetype burn here this weekend? You know,
I was a little bit. It's funny. I, like a lot of the pros, am always looking at the Magic Online results. Like especially once the bannings kicked in and Fate Reforged kicked in on Magic Online, you're like, all right, what's doing well on Magic Online? And you see a bunch of burn decks. There were a lot of burn decks doing well. The thing is, that's always true on Magic Online. Like even before the last Modern Pro Tour, hey, look, there's a bunch of burn decks doing really well on Magic Online, but they did not show up at the Pro Tour. This time around, it was different. That dominant of burn decks, it wasn't just a Magic Online effect this time around. It was real, and those decks did very well. Lee's team in particular did incredibly well, placing 3 or 4 players in the top 16.
Right. And Eidolon of the Great Revel has been really the card that's propelled Burn, it looks like, into being this just like kind of almost much more unfair deck than it's been previously.
That's definitely added to the power level of the deck. The other thing that's added to the power level of the deck is the banning of Birthing Pod. I mean, the Birthing Pod decks play so many Kitchen Finxes and then have the ability to keep getting more Kitchen Finxes that if you know that you're going to show up against a whole bunch of opponents that are summoning turn 2 Kitchen Finx, he makes it a lot harder to play Burn.
There you see some of the tweets going by on the side of the screen. I like Brian Kibler's tweet there. Oh, wow, he didn't realize that Antonio was his round 4 opponent. You know, he's like, I played this guy. He's like, he did play really well. You know, okay, he's in the top 8. How often do you see that experience? You know, like you just play some guy in the tournament and it's just kind of just the next person up, and then you really see them distinguish themselves as they advance to the Sunday stage.
Comes up. Sorry, I'm reading the tweets. I like this feature.
Do you have any kind of play draw preference in this matchup in terms of, you know, do you like Shi Tian a lot more on the play here?
Sure. I mean, being on the play is powerful because the matchup is fundamentally a race.
Could he have won that other game on the play, or, you know, going a card deeper for Antonio, probably actually worse for him?
Yeah, did Antonio actually miss a land drop, though? Didn't he kill on the 4th turn? No, he killed on the 5th turn.
Yeah.
Right. I think if Antonio had that same draw, if he's on the draw, he would have been able to kill on the 4th turn instead of the 5th turn. So now it depends whether Shi Tian has the hand to kill as a response. Well, it might have mattered.
I don't know if you just looked at that hand that was there, but it looks like 6 lands and a Searing Blaze.
Not good enough. Both players get a mulligan down to 6.
Antonio Del Moral also sending it back. It's always interesting to me watching these tweets how people love certain decks. I mean, one of the things about Modern is people can really have these pet decks, and you're seeing this like kind of love for the Splinter Twin deck.
That's a great point. Definitely a format where your deck hangs around for many, many years. You can get to know and love it, understand all its matchups.
And certainly Burn has been a deck like that for a long. You know, there's always players who identify with Burn.
Anybody can win this matchup, though. Shi Tian has shown a mastery of this format.
Yeah, 3 different decks. That's what's kind of amazing to me.
Scape Shift into Blue Moon into Burn.
Yeah, yeah, and like the Blue Moon, like and just. You know, what he said was, when we talked last night, he said, you know, it's all like just metagame stuff. He's just like, I'm just going to find the deck that's the right deck for this field. And, you know, and attributed a lot of that to the MTG Mint card team that's built around, that's been risen up around his success and sort of permanence on the Pro Tour. You really see that idea that, like, a player gets to the Pro Tour, is able to lock up a couple of invitations in a row, able to find some other players who, you know, travel in the same circles as you, who are also coming to multiple Pro Tours in a row, that you're able to sort of build on that and keep more people qualified at, you know, silver and gold and even platinum levels. See some mixed messages there, rooting for the twin player, but I want Shi Tian to win. Yeah, it's an interesting point. Also, you see Klug Alters talking there about the idea that instead of bolting, he could have Helix there and then would have had the 2 1-mana spells in hand.
Yeah, the Vendilion Click versus the Deceiver Exarch is also one that Antonio went for. Antonio went for the Vendilion Click on the end step, right, to set up his kill. Wanted to see what was up, potentially push a card to the bottom. If Shi Tian had 3 1-mana burn spells in that hand, then Antonio would not have been able to top deck the land for the win. Whereas a Deceiver Exarch could have tapped a land, and the coast would have been clear, but then again, only if there's specifically a red source on top of Antonio's library. It's tricky, like, do you play to try to survive for a second draw phase, or do you play to win right there?
You see him rolling out the hand, Rift Bolt, Lava Spike.
Oh, yeah. Sign me up.
Eidolon of the Great Revel, and 2 lands. That seems perfect.
3 1-mana, 3 damage spells, and Eidolon and 2 lands. You're not going to see much better out of 6. Rift Bolt, not the most exciting, but you know what? You spend a mana, you deal 3 damage. We'll take it.
Oh, it looks like, is that a pair of Serum Visions? We'll get the hand updated in a moment. And turn 1, Rift Bolt for Shi Tian. That's on suspend. That means you remove a counter on your upkeep. When there's no more counters, you cast the spell for free. And that's going to happen on Shi Tian's next upkeep. So basically a 1-mana, 3 burn. You could also pay 3 mana for it.
You could.
But why would you want to do that?
Does not happen very often.
Neither of these players talking very much in the match. No, not very, very little English for Antonio. You see a Pestermite and a Negate on top. So it sounds like we've got some details about how these guys actually did sideboard. Sometimes they don't always keep their promises that they make in those segments. What does the sideboarding look like here Randy?
Lee did exactly what he told you he was going to do.
Good man.
+3 Destructive Revelry, +3 Molten Rain. And then the Boros Charms came out. 1 Lightning Helix came out. It's another one where I'm surprised wouldn't you bring out the Helixes first and then the Boros Charms? But that's the way he set it up. Oh, I guess he really... I don't know. Antonio, meanwhile, 2 Spell Skites, Dispel, Negate, Pyroclasm, and Anger all came in. A Peak, a Stomping Grounds, 2 Cryptic Commands, and 2 Electrolyzes go out.
Yeah, Cryptic Command seems unspectacular in this matchup. So the Rift Bolt is resolved. Fetch land for Li Shi Tian. 2 mana. I imagine we're going to see an Eidolon here.
That's what I'm expecting.
There you look. So we know there's a Pestermite on top. For Antonio. He's got all the pieces.
Doesn't have the 4th land. Got most of the pieces.
So, in comes the Eidolon. Is it time to drive in the spike?
I take 2, you take 3?
Yep.
Sounds great. I take 2, you take 3.
Well, I take 2. You might also just take 2 here.
Yeah, that is true.
So the Eidolon triggers.
Dispel can be exchanged for 1 point of life. As can Remand.
Yeah.
Remand is probably the more interesting one, right? Dig for land.
Antonio thinking about Lava Spike. He says, okay. You will take 2. I will let that happen, but I'm going to negate that. I will also take 2.
Negate rather than Remand.
And now, suspend a Rift Bolt. Antonio goes to 12. He draws his Pestermite.
Looks nervously at his life pad.
And he has Serum Visions, but has to take 2 to do it.
Right. I mean, and we know that Shi Tian is out of gas for now. But Antonio doesn't know that, doesn't know what's on top of his deck, and also knows that he still needs a land. Also knows that Pestermite can be killed by most of the burn spells. So, I mean, he's looking at 5 damage just from what's on the board next turn. The Eidolon and the Rift Bolt.
And takes.
Wow, pays the 2. Yeah.
Yeah, takes 2.
He figures he's going to have to go Pestermite, untap, Splinter Twin. So here is Rift Bolt resolving, dealing 2 to Li Shi Tian and 3 to Antonio Del Moral-Leon.
Wow, he's just having. He said, "I'm just going to believe in the top of my deck here."
I don't think he has much choice in the matter.
Yeah.
Now, he could summon Pestermite and tap the Eidolon to save 2 damage here. I think that's what he's thinking about.
That's what he, yeah.
Lee said attack. Antonio is going to say his wait. And now he's crossing his fingers. He needs to catch 2 breaks here. He needs Li Shi Tian to have no burn spell for the Pestermite. And then he needs to tap, untap, and draw a land.
Right.
Well, part A has gone just the way Antonio wanted it to go. Li Shi Tian does not, in fact, have a way to kill that Pestermite. He's got 2 lands in his hand. He's going to posture. He's going to think. He's going to hem. He's going to haw. He's going to, represent that maybe he's got something before he says go. It's like, I could kill the Pestermite now, but I think I'll wait for you to put the Splinter Twin on it. Then I'll kill it. This posturing isn't going to accomplish much because Antonio's, he has to go for it. Even if he believed this bluff, he pretty much has to go for it.
Is there a land on top of his deck? It looks like he did not draw one. It looks like he drew another remand. Yes. Has to pass a turn. Finds himself in a position of needing that 4th land once again.
Yeah, he would have won the game if he'd drawn the land. Would have won the match, in fact, and been off to the semifinals. But now, does he get another turn? Eidolon, he does get another turn unless Shi Tian draws a burn spell. And even if Shi Tian draws a burn spell, he can actually, countering the burn spell and to take 2 instead of 3 is very relevant. Now, yeah, Antonio could have won with a top deck on the previous turn. Now it's Shi Tian's turn. Can he top deck to win? Or at least top deck to force a remand and, depending on what he draws, maybe cast it again.
Well, there's also a Dispel, right?
Yeah, but they all take 2.
Yeah.
If he has to block that Eidolon with Pestermite, he can't win the game. So Antonio is effectively at 3. He's not blocking Eidolon. And if he takes the Eidolon hit down to 3, he can't cast 2 counters either. So he can really only counter once. Shi Tian's going to slow roll all of us, including himself. Is that a splash of red?
I see red. It looks like Monastery Swift Spear.
Oh my. What does that do? Does that not do enough? He can take a Swift Spear hit. Can't afford to remand that. It'll just get recast. And then become lethal. As it is right now, Antonio can take both of these. He's thinking about the Swift Spear.
Yeah, it has not
There's no
resolved
reason
yet.
to counter it, though, right? He just takes 3 down to 2. I mean, he's got to believe it's off the top, and he's got to believe Shi Tian had no burn last turn. That is not a lethal Swift Spear. If he takes the 2 damage from the Eidolon to remand it, then it is a lethal Swift Spear.
He's like, how many cards are you holding?
Right.
2.
And Shi
He
Tian
does
did do some
remand it.
posturing. Wow. Doesn't that turn it lethal? What did he draw? Is that Splash of Blue? I don't think that's a land. I mean, if he had remanded instead of negated a while ago, then he could have already had that card in his hand. Yeah, Shi Tian is like, I'm just summoning it again. And now those creatures are lethal. Antonio is obliged to block. No, yeah, I don't like the remand there. All right, well, he does get the Eidolon off the board. But it is no longer possible to win this turn.
But falls to 2 in the process.
Lightning Bolt. Still didn't see. Yeah, he's going to Serum Visions.
And then maybe Serum Visions
that looks like
again.
an island. Oh, Desolate Lighthouse was the card that he drew off the remand. So if he had remanded instead of that negate way back on turn, what was it, 2? Or turn 3? He would have had a Desolate Lighthouse in his hand last turn. And he would have won the game last turn. But he used that negate instead of the remand. Of course, remand, the burn spell would have gotten recast, so it's not that clean.
And the Eidolon just pushing down on his life total here.
Oh, yeah. From here, though, I mean, look, he can kill the Monastery Swift Spear, and Shi Tian has no gas. But basically, he's now racing against Shi Tian's ability to draw a burn spell. The judges are warning Antonio about his pace of play. It has been fairly deliberate.
And the judges have been pretty consistent this weekend about making the game move faster.
Always top.
Shi Tian laments, always top.
There's the lighthouse. On your upkeep, gonna lightning bolt the Swift Spear.
Yeah, now there's a Dispel and a Remand in Delmar Leon's hand. He can Dispel an instant speed burn spell.
Spell for...
Was a Searing Blaze.
I believe it was Searing, yeah. Oh, and Pestermite in hand.
Searing Blaze is pretty good against Pestermite, not going to lie. Second Searing Blaze. Shi Tian just needs the landfall. That's Wooded Foothills in play, though, right? So he has the landfall. He's got the landfall to trigger the Searing Blaze, but he smells permission, right? He knows that there's quite possibly a Dispel or a Remand. Here's Pestermite. Now, he can cast 2 different copies of Searing Blaze on his end step, and will. You know, doesn't... He has played a land, so that's 3 mana. Dispel, but here's the second one.
Shows him the second Searing Blaze.
I've got the land. I've got the second Searing Blaze. Pestermite is dead, but more importantly, you're dead.
Game 2 to Shi Tian. So we're even up. We're going to see a game 3 here in the match between Burn and Splinter Twin. Molten Rain's coming out.
Sure.
On the draw for Shi Tian. We didn't see them that game, but... Do you think there's anything different that Antonio does, play or draw?
I think he wins more on the play. Does that count? Probably not. I don't think so. I mean, he brought in Spellskite, Dispel, Negate, Pyroclasm, Anger. Those cards are just all good in the matchup. They're not really play-draw dependent.
Spellskite's a small nightmare for Shi Tian.
Sure. Not as big a nightmare as it would be for Antonio if it was on the other side. It's game over against the Splinter Twin combo. You must deal with it before you can assemble the combo. Somehow Spellskite always winds up wearing a Splinter Twin.
So if you've been watching all weekend, we've been asking people to use a couple of hashtags, talk about cards. So, we at the end of these events compile a top 5 cards list, right? We talk about the top 5 cards of the tournament. So we'd like you to use the hashtag top 5 cards and talk about the cards that you think should be on that list, the cards that have really stood out for you. If you think, Amulet of Vigor is one of the breakout cards from this tournament. If you think Eidolon of the Great Revel is, I keep wanting to make it into a musician. If you think that's one of the cards that you want to see, talk about it on Twitter. Use the hashtag top 5 cards. We'll find it. You can see some of the cards going by right now. Tarmogoyf, Snappy Cappy Mage, Bitter Blossom, Glistener Elf, and sometimes you got to feed those clans because there is a feed the clans in the top 8 of this tournament.
It's exciting. Gerard Fabiano would be proud.
Yeah, I don't think I think it was in Jesse Hampton's list, so it's still there. He didn't seem super happy with it. Can you say Lightning Bolt 5 times?
I see Siege Rhino 1. I did a top 15 cards in Modern piece for before the Modern round started. I thought about putting Siege Rhino #1 on the list. I settled for #2. I put Tarmogoyf in first. Had Siege Rhino 2. Siege Rhino 1 would have been totally justifiable based on the way this played out.
Tarmogoyf maintains his mid-range captaincy.
It's only because he's single-colored and goes into more decks than just the Obzon deck. I mean, for a 3-color gold card to be as omnipresent as Siege Rhino, though, wow. It's super impactful.
Pretty funny. We're sitting in the other studio waiting for the next match to start, and I had Logan Mize back there, and we're waiting to do a little segment at the chairs, and the Siege Rhino card graphic came up, and he sees the line that at some point it costs 3,
right?
And he Danny Thomas spit-taked coffee out of his mouth all across the floor.
Well, they said it was smaller.
And then he read that. He's like, "Oh, okay."
Well, that was I was sitting out in the viewing area at the time, and Owen Turtenwald is joking about that. John and Kai and Huey and all those guys, and it was much debate. Like, how much smaller was it? Like, if it was 3-4, you'd probably rather have 3-4 for 3. But was it 3-3?
That's what we were wondering also. If it was
at 3-3, it's probably worse. But at 3-4, it might have been better.
Snapcaster Mage, Siege Rhino, Tarmogoyf, Path to Exile, Splinter Twin. That's a nice
sure.
Starting point for your Modern collection.
Fair.
I mean, I have to put Tassiger there.
He's exciting.
Tassiger is definitely one. I mean, obviously Tassiger is going to be one of my top 5 cards.
It is Pro Tour Fate Reforged, right?
But watching him, top deck that card against Eric Froelich, Jesse Hampton, top deck the Tassiger against Eric Froelich, and just got on the value train. And
look, Tassiger's getting all the glory here. Lingering Souls did the work.
Well, Lingering Souls was
Lingering Souls was the true superstar there, but it's just they were all dead by the time the game actually ended, and Tassiger just showed up to get all the glory. I mean, Tassiger was very good. That was by far the best card he could top deck there, but wouldn't have got there without the Lingering Souls.
That card's bananas are pictured in the lower right-hand corner of the image. People are playing with some illegal decks. I've seen 5 Lightning Bolt decks and 5 Siege Rhino decks now in this Twitter hashtag. Cranial Plating, that's an interesting card. Not something we're seeing here on Sunday, but the Affinity deck showed up in pretty large numbers for this tournament.
Yeah, there were a lot of aggro decks, and there was no clear consensus about what the best ones were. I mean, it turns out, if you go by the top 8, Burn looks like the best aggro choice, but there were Affinity decks that came very close to making this top 8, and there were Infect decks that came very, very close to making this top 8.
An Infect deck in the hands of John Finkel in 10th place.
Right, and Austin Bursavich must have been super close, right? He was playing in Game 3, coming up just short.
So we have, I think we're going to take a shot. We have some people. You see some people watching the match. Hey, guys. How you doing? Everyone watching, rooting. Everyone has their the groups of playtesters gather out there, and they watch. Fans, people doing some drafts, hanging out. Sunday at Pro Tour is a pretty nice day.
Oh yeah, I was actually thinking the row I was sitting in when I went out there watching the first quarterfinal. The 5 of us. It goes Kai, John, me, Huey, Luis. That was row 4. It was fun.
They would get
It's a nice top 5. Can't be in my top 5. Guys I was sitting with.
They are a group of cards.
I don't have a card. Luis doesn't have a card.
Okay, both players are keeping. And we are off. Scalding Tarn there.
Is that the fresh hand, or is that left over from last game?
I think that is left over from last game.
It does look familiar. Yeah, I don't think our hand tool's updated
Yeah, we're getting the hand tools updated. We'll take a look at Searing Blaze while that happens.
There we go.
So Lightning Bolt, Serum Visions, and the 4 lands he's been looking for.
Yeah, he's got the lands this
match.
time. Both of the previous games, he's had trouble getting the lands.
But Serum Vision starts digging him through his deck. He just has to not be dead when he assembles the combo. Pretty simple formula for combo decks going back as long as Magic has been played.
How much burn? I only count 9. Lavamancer's got what, 2 activations worth? I think we're only at 13.
That's not enough. And I don't think the Grim. I think the Grim Lavamancer is destined to be fuel for the next Grim Lavamancer.
Fetch land and 3 burn spells. He's almost got 3 activations worth. Might get in an attack or 2. Just the 1-drop draw is right. Maybe you'll deal 6. You can be my superstar and deal 6.
Yeah, really looking to get 9 to 10 out of your creatures. Looking to get 2 to 3 out of your opponent's lands, and then finish them off with a couple of spells.
I think it's more just on a card basis. Like if a turn 1 creature is usually going to deal at least 4.
Here's Serum Visions.
Island, not the card he wanted to draw. Couldn't see what the 2.
It looks like one of those was a Splinter Twin. I mean, Splinter Twin.
Oh, well, did he find an Exarch?
He does have an Exarch in hand. He just drew that.
Wow. And you said he's got... Did he go top again?
He just went top.
He's gone top like 3 Serum Visions in a row.
His deck is full of good cards.
True. Now, do you just Lightning Bolt this Grim Lavamancer here? I think you do. I mean, we'll wait and see if there's a Goblin Guide or a Swift Spear. But if Shi Tian goes into combat, I suspect Antonio will just bolt the Lavamancer.
Looks like Shi Tian drew another Grim Lavamancer. Don't think that will be quick enough.
Yeah, his draw is not the fastest. Still doesn't have 20 points of burn. Yeah, when that guy starts turning sideways, he's not even going to get in the one, I don't think. Or is it?
Yeah, it does.
Interesting.
So Grim Lavamancer number 2. And then a Sacred Foundry comes into play tapped.
I mean, Lightning Bolt doesn't do anything here other than save you damage.
And it fuels the Grim Lavamancer.
No, I meant Del Moro Leon's Lightning Bolt. That Lightning Bolt is just to save damage. Because he wanted to wait for the end step. He wanted to see what else was coming, see if there were any better targets. All the better targets have haste, though.
Deceiver Exarch, untap my land, Flame Slash your Grim Lavamancer.
Pretty nice. And you said there's a Splinter Twin on top of his library?
I believe there is.
His hand doesn't look very good. Island Misty Misty.
Okay.
That said, we do know that Serum
Flame
Vision...
Slash. We saw a red card go by.
Oh, you saw a red card.
That could have been the Flame Slash.
They went top, though.
There's a Goblin Guide.
He wouldn't go top unless he had access to...
Goblin Guide attacks.
He did go top without access to a Splinter Twin. Yeah, it was the Flame Slash. Was the flash of red you saw.
Right. And was that a Dispel on top?
Antonio declined to block there. It was a Dispel on top. Did not want Exarch to be vulnerable to just one burn spell, so he's willing to take the Goblin Guide hit. So yeah, he chose to put Dispel on top rather than dig for Splinter Twin.
I think we're going to start seeing some skulls cracked here.
Sure.
See the players just confirming the life totals.
So you have 16, 15, you have 16, 14.
1, 2, 3.
Sounds like everyone's on the same page now. A Lightning Bolt, 2 Skull Cracks.
Adding up. Now we're at 9 plus a Goblin Guide. So Antonio is at 5 right now, in my mind. I mean, he's at 5 before he gets to draw another card.
There's a Skull Crack.
Now, what Shi Tian does not have is a way to kill the Exarch. The Skull Cracks only target players. So Lightning Bolt plus, he'd love to draw a burn spell here, but in particular, he'd love to draw one that can be pointed at Deceiver Exarch. And I think that's why he kept the Lightning Helixes in over the Boros Charms, is because of their ability to kill creatures.
Okay.
Mountain.
Gives him a mountain, the first Goblin Guide gift.
That's a big gift, too. That's almost a time walk for Antonio. All right, he's just needs to find a Splinter Twin, and now he's 1 card closer to it. Oh, but Shi Tian did draw the Lightning Bolt. He's got Bolt available to potentially kill Deceiver Exarch. Then again, Antonio, that Dispel that he kept could come up huge if he does find his Splinter Twin.
And it looks like he just drew a Snapcaster Mage.
Interesting. So he can ambush the Goblin Guide if he wants. He can Flame Slash the Goblin Guide now. No reason to really do that. Seems like he'd just wait and leave up Lightning Bolt.
You see any chance that he would Snapcaster Mage Serum Visions?
He could.
Here?
He could.
Just saying, like, you know what? I just want to look a couple cards deeper into my library.
Yeah, and then he's got a blocker for the Goblin Guide
Yeah.
or the ability to soak up a damage spell. I think, though, that the Goblin Guide attacking is good, clearing a land off the top of Antonio's deck. It's like almost half a Serum Visions.
Okay, Skull Crack at the end of the turn.
Right, those 2 Lightning Bolts.
He chooses not to. He's going to keep that Snapcaster Mage in hand. It also represents Dispel, Snapcaster
Right.
Mage, Dispel, and not something else. Falls to 8.
All right, the Bolt can get Antonio to 2. Goblin Guide is theoretically lethal, but we do know about the Snapcaster and the Dispel. So Shi Tian does not have enough yet. What did he draw?
Goblin Guide attacks, reveals another Snapcaster Mage. We know about the first one.
Oh, Destructive Revelry was the draw from Shi Tian. All right, here's the mid-combat Snapcaster to ambush Goblin Guide. It's 2 sorceries and a Lightning Bolt, so of course he's going to choose the Lightning Bolt. Points that at the Goblin Guide rather than blocking.
Takes down the Guide and now has a little bit of offense of his own here, too.
It's true. Starting to maybe sort of become relevant.
There you get a look at Snapcaster Mage. And Shi Tian passes the turn.
I like the way Shi Tian's got the Stomping Grounds covered up. I don't have to. I'm like, does he have green mana? Yeah, he's got green mana, but the green splash on his land is the part that's covered up.
Now do you consider the Serum Visions? Yes.
Yeah.
Target Serum Visions, cast Serum Visions, draws a card, looks at 2 cards.
Lands. I think it was land, in fact. Yeah, he's holding Dispel land, and I think Serum Visions is looking at 2 lands. One of them was a Desolate Lighthouse, though, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think that's worth drawing.
Yeah,
I think you
no,
just
he's gonna
push rather than have to activate.
Yeah, pushes them both. And speaking of pushing, gets into the red zone for 3.
Yeah, I mean, it's at 11, 5. You know, it's attacking for damage becomes possible. Shi Tian, though, is 2 burn spells. Dispel can cancel out one of them. All right, well, he's done waiting to bolt the Deceiver Exarch. He wants to go for the face.
Yep. So Lightning Bolt gets dispelled. Antonio stays at 8.
What that does mean, though, is that Destructive Revelry can now get a Splinter Twin. So Shi Tian still has defense against the combo. Doesn't need to kill the Exarch if he can kill the enchantment.
There's an Eidolon.
Wow. It's a little scary.
That's a little scary
5
when your opponent's
power on
clocking
the other
you
side.
for 5, yeah. Antonio draws his card for the turn. We know Shi Tian is holding Lightning Bolt and Destructive Revelry. It looks like Antonio is holding nothing.
Steam Vents was the draw for the turn. He had the 2 Misties before.
Yeah.
Wow, this has become a like Eidolon versus Snapcaster fight. Eidolon can block the Deceiver Exarch, so Antonio's not interested in that. Yeah. Shi Tian is just trading for Snapcaster and buying himself time to draw more burn.
He can't afford it.
Eidolon's triggered ability did nothing. That was just play my Grizzly Bear, block your 2/1, and trade.
So he's thinking about, does he Lightning Bolt here, or does he just want to hold a fistful of burn?
Who, Shi Tian?
Yeah, I mean, is there a reason to
we're
not
in
fire
stuff.
off the bolt here? He maybe wants to think about if he has to bolt another creature.
Wow, that's possible.
Right, there's no combination of 2 spells. That's going to get him 8 damage.
Not if one of them's a lightning bolt.
Yeah. Yes. Assuming lightning bolt to start. There you get a look at the bolt.
Scalding Tarn was the draw for the turn for Shi Tian. So yeah, he's on Bolt Destructive Revelry. He needs.
Right, he's rooting for the Splinter Twin.
Yeah, funny.
Rooting for a Blood Moon.
Yeah, all of a sudden this Snapcaster Exarch beatdown plan is starting to look decent.
Oh, now it's a 3-turn clock.
Is that Splinter Twin? Yeah, he did. He drew Splinter Twin off the top. I assume he goes for the combo here. He looks pretty... I mean, it's likely to work. Not actually going to work, but...
He puts the Splinter Twin
with authority.
Yep.
Slams it onto the table defiantly. You got something? Oh, look at Shi Tian. He's just fiddling with his water bottle. Calm.
He lets it resolve.
But does not concede. Antonio's like, really? You're going to make me go through the motions, or do you have something?
And remember, Shi Tian did this to him in game 1. Also made him go through the motions. So now he taps it.
Can I untap it? I've made a copy. I would like my copy to untap.
Shows him the Destructive Revelry.
No. And there's 2 points of damage, too, by the way. Now any 3 damage spell is lethal. All right.
So Deceiver Exarch untaps itself, the copy.
So there's 2 Deceiver Exarchs in play right now, one of which is a hasty token.
And he gets to attack for 4.
So Shi Tian has Lightning Bolt in hand. And he got the 2, because of the 2 damage from the Destructive Revelry, all he needs is 1 more burn spell.
Antonio is at 6.
Can Shi Tian top deck the win?
He breaks a fetch land.
Thin. Thin the library. Doesn't change the clock, right?
No.
You got 3. I don't care if I'm at 5 or 4. It does not matter.
There are lightning bolts in Antonio's deck.
Still doesn't change the clock. Still no difference between 5 and 4.
Yeah.
Destructive Revelry. Broke up the combo and threw in 2 points. Big draw phase. And Shi Tian may get a second draw phase. This is not necessarily the last one. In fact, on board, he has 2 draw phases.
And we know Shi Tian, we've watched him top deck like this before. He's going to slide the card off. He's going to put it under the other card. He's going to peel it very slowly. Draw for the turn. Oh, he looks right at it. It's a Molten Rain.
Flash of red?
It was Molten Rain.
Molten Rain's not good enough. It only deals 2.
He can get his opponent to 1 here.
Jeez.
Molten Rain targets the non-basic.
He left it in on the draw, too.
Yeah.
Shi Tian on the draw, left in Molten Rain. That could have been a Boros Charm. That could have been a Lightning Helix. He changed his mind on the sideboard plan, left in the Molten Rain, where any 3 damage spell would have won in the game right there.
Now the top deck
Can
switches
Antonio
back
top deck?
To Antonio.
Does he get another turn?
He's lining up his cards.
Think Remand. He drew Remand.
Four plays 4. Antonio can get Shi Tian down to 1 this turn. He's thinking.
Well, he's trying to think, does he want to leave Exarch on defense against a haste creature?
He's worried about Goblin Guide, worried about Monastery Swift Spear.
Probably should. Put him at 2, right? Well, I guess putting him at 1 means Shi Tian wouldn't be able to block with an Eidolon next turn. Kind of. It depends what he draws.
In the end, it's just the Snapcaster Mage that comes down. Shi Tian falls to 2. Does he fire? He doesn't fire off the bolt here. Here's his card. He looks at it. He's not dead here. He can bolt the Snapcaster Mage.
Yeah, because Antonio played defense with the Exarch. Lightning Bolting Snapcaster will buy Shi Tian another turn.
Shakes his head.
And Remand can't stop that. Obviously, Shi Tian can just play it again. Oh, you know what he drew? Eidolon of the Great Revel. The one card to punish, and that's another card that punishes Antonio for playing defense. Doesn't play it? Wow.
Passes the turn.
Doesn't play it as a blocker. Instead, he's on Lightning Bolt the Snapcaster. Interesting.
In come both. Bolt your Snapcaster Mage.
Yeah. Antonio's not going to bother with the Remand.
Looks like he drew a second Remand. Shi Tian's on one. He can remand the Eidolon.
But it can be replayed.
And then he can remand it again.
2 remands is a lot of remands. I don't know why Shi Tian didn't play the Eidolon last turn. Shi Tian, by the way, drew Rift Bolt. Yeah, he chose not to play that Eidolon last turn.
Gonna need to make a play.
Wow. Goes for the full price Rift Bolt, which cannot be replayed off this remand. Got through the remand, though. I think maybe he thought he was clearing a path for Eidolon.
Okay, he's going to try the Eidolon here.
At 1, facing a 1/4. Can I block?
Remand. Oh, he Spell Snare off the remand. Hard counter for the win. Antonio Del Moral Leon advances to the semifinals over Shi Tian. He didn't even need to, still had all these remands. He draws the Spell Snare. Wow. Splinter Twin advances to the semifinals over Burn. Wow.
Crazy game.
That was a crazy game.
That was.
It's so funny. You see this deck full of burn spells, and you think about countering. It's like, oh, how are those counters just going to match up against all these redundant burn spells? But really, sometimes you just need to counter one spell.
And sometimes you just need to put it back in their hand, and that's good enough.
Yeah, I mean, he could have, remanded twice there.
Yeah.
But taking no chances on another land. Well, he had Rift Bolted, so even the remand was going to be fatal as well. Unbelievable. So Antonio Del Moral Leon playing in his first Pro Tour top 8.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. All right, we're ready to send it back to the desk. We got a couple minutes of shifting around the feature match area, and then we're going to come back with the last quarterfinal. It's a good one. Jelger Wiegersma versus Jacob Wilson.
Quite honestly, they seemed a little stunned there in the booth, and to be perfectly straight with you, we all are back here at the news desk. Luis, what an amazing quarterfinal.
That game was amazing. I mean, it came down to exact life totals for both players. There was top decks on both sides. Both players had a lot of different ways they could have played some of those turns, and it was really awesome to watch. Yeah, so Ian, we'd like to thank Antonio Del Moral Leon for that remand in Game 2, which gave us that fantastic Game 3, because there was some question marks over Game 2.
Yeah, definitely some questionable plays there, but, again, players have imperfect information, so they got to do best with what they got, and,
And what an amazing Game 3. That's one to go back and watch when the day's done, that is for sure. But Antonio Del Moral Leon with Blue-Red Twin advances to the semi-finals. And one of the things that was most exciting, perhaps to the casual viewer, is once that Deceiver Exarch's in play, sometimes you just see, yes, untap Splinter Twin, but there it was just hovering on the battlefield for turn after turn after turn, knowing that at any moment the game could be done, and yet in the end, it was actually turning one sideways that did it.
It was funny that drawing Splinter was actually a bad draw.
Right.
Because it turned on the Destructive Revelry that otherwise wouldn't have done anything.
Yeah. So. Yes, it was certainly a game where cards that do certain things didn't really do what you naturally expect, but certainly delivered in spades. All right, we have one more quarterfinal to be. Let's take a look at the bracket. people joining us from around the world all the time. Let's show you what's happened so far here at Pro Tour Fate Reforged. We began with the Abzan mirror, Eric Froelich against Jesse Hampton. It was Jesse Hampton who advanced to the semi-finals. Then the other All-American clash was Seth Manfield against Justin Cohen with Amulet Bloom, and Cohen with his Amulet Bloom deck advances. He'll face Jesse Hampton later this afternoon. You have just seen Antonio Del Moral Leon of Spain in his first Pro Tour Top 8 get past Shi Tian. Third modern Pro Tour Top 8 for him, but he ends at the quarterfinals. And now we turn our attention to our fourth quarterfinal. It is the Netherlands against Canada, the 3v6. Jelger Wiegersma against Jacob Wilson. So why don't we take a look at the Dutch Hall of Famer, Jelger Wiegersma. He has all the numbers you could possibly want. Over 400 lifetime pro points by the end of this weekend, over 200,000 US dollars by the end of this weekend. This is his fifth Pro Tour Top 8, and you see he is a Pro Tour champion from Pro Tour Seattle 2004, couple of Grand Prix titles. Of course, he's a Hall of Famer. So Ian, let's take a look at Jelger's deck list. He is also playing a Splinter Twin deck. Just walk us through what's in here.
Yeah, so we just saw a Splinter Twin deck last round, so I want to focus on the differences between Jelger's list and Del Moral Leon's list that we just saw. So of note in Jelger's list, he's a little bit more controlling. He actually adds the fourth Snapcaster Mage and a third Cryptic Command, both of which I think are going to be good assets against Jacob Wilson's green creature deck. Also of note, he has two main deck Blood Moons. Well, not traditionally at their best against a base green deck with lots of mana creatures. They can shut down Jacob Wilson's Gavany Townships, which we've seen be instrumental in previous games.
All right. Now, Jelger over the weekend has said repeatedly, do you know what? I don't think my deck's that good. But as he said when he made the top 8, guess it's good enough. So we'll see how he fares. Over on the far side of the studio, Marshall Sutcliffe is waiting for us with a former Player of the Year and the #1 ranked player in the world. Let's head across to hear the thoughts of Owen Turtenwald.
Thank you, Rich. So I've got Owen with me. Owen, welcome. I want to hear about the rigorous testing schedule that Jelger Wiegersma took with his Splinter Twin deck. Talk to us about his prep.
So, as is the usual before the Pro Tour, we rented a vacation home. Everybody buckled down for 10, 12 days before the Pro Tour. We're playing Magic 10 hours a day.
Skipped the GP?
Yeah, we skipped the Team Grand Prix. Jelger had commitments with work, so he came a little bit later. And due to delays at the airport, he was stuck at an airport in China for an extra day or two. And he shows up to the house. He's jet lagged. Pro Tour starts in 2 days. He picks up a pile of cards off the table. Half the cards are sleeved. Half the cards are missing. A Splinter Twin deck that we liked at first, but ultimately had dismissed, and we're off it. We're ignoring it. He goes, "Oh, this looks good." Changes 2 cards, shows up to the Pro Tour, and just runs the table. Just beats everyone senseless with it.
And that's just kind of classic Jelger, right?
Yeah.
That sort of describes him. Now, what about after he made his, which is now his 5th Pro Tour Top 8 last night? What happened after that?
So, as is usual, when one of us on the team makes Top 8, everybody kind of bands together and says, "Oh, we're going to test your matchup. We're going to try to give you advice." Everyone's looking at deck lists and trying to play as many games as prep our teammate. And we go, "Jelger, do you want to play some games?" He goes, "No."
No.
"Do you want to go to dinner and talk about the decks?" He goes, "No, I'm just going to go to sleep. I'm tired." He wakes up this morning. We're like, "Do you want to practice some more?" He's like, "It's okay." And the thing is, it might seem like he's not making the best of this opportunity, but I believe that he's doing the exact right thing. He doesn't want to play too many games. He didn't want to not get a good night's sleep. He didn't want to be stressed out and overwork himself. I mean, he's calm, cool, collected, Hall of Famer, great player. He knows what to do.
He's super chill. Now, did you guys get a chance to do some of the work for him as far as maybe some of your teammates testing the matchup and giving him, kind of a summary?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we played some games, and honestly, when you talk to him about the matchup and try to give him advice, he already knows. You can't be like, "Oh, you should do this." He goes, "Okay." He understands. I mean, he showed it all weekend. He's good with his deck. He doesn't need our help.
Now, what about the matchup that he's going to face here? Does this present unique challenges, or this is against Jacob Wilson and his Abzan Wilt-Leaf deck?
Yeah, I imagine that Abzan is a bad matchup for Splinter Twin in general, but I think Jacob's list has no Abrupt Decay, which is like big problem card. Abrupt Decay obviously can't be countered, and so given that his deck has less Abrupt Decay 0 and more Path to Exile, that's actually a card you can work around. You can beat a Path to Exile if you try.
What do you make of his chances?
He's probably the favorite to win the Pro Tour and his first match.
Wow, so that could be another Pro Tour win for Jelger. Owen, thanks for taking the time and giving us those fun stories. Back to the news desk with Rich.
Fantastic stuff. And really good point by Owen. It takes all kinds to go into the top 8. You have to know yourself. You need to know whether you need to test all night, whether you need to just get advice, whether you just need to go to bed. We've had winners who've done all 3 and more besides. Let's see how Jelger gets on. But he is up against Jacob Wilson. Let's take a look at the profile of Jacob Wilson from Canada. And he is going into another top 8, another modern top 8. There you see his stats. He is ready to go against Jelger Wiegersma, which means that we are ready to go for the final quarterfinal here at Pro Tour Fate Reforged.